Good afternoon, I'm Ahmed Fauzi and welcome to this program on sport and peace. We have with us today, and I'm very pleased to introduce Eric Murangwa. Eric, you're a genocide survivor.
Yes.
I'm glad you're with us today. And former Rwanda football captain. We also have two other guests who will be with us later. But with Eric today, we have Dr. Holly Collison, researcher into the use, this is fascinating, it's the use of sport as a catalyst for peace at Loughborough University in Leicester, I believe. Fantastic. Sport, as you know, and particularly football, has always been central to observing Peace Day, ever since the Peace One Day created the One Day, One Goal campaign. To start off our program, it's a great honor to interview our two guests, and I'm going to start with Eric. Eric, can you start off for telling us about Football for Hope and Unity?
Thank you. Football for Hope, Peace and Unity. It's an initiative that started about 5 years ago, and it came from the story of my survival during the genocide in 1994 in Rwanda. As you said, I was a football player back then, and when the genocide happened, I basically survived because of my football player status. My teammates helped me, and that incredible way of behavior from my teammates influenced me later on, and I came to believe that football is such a powerful tool to really do things that sometimes are not easy to do. And yeah, that's how Football for Hope, Peace and Unity was initiated. And the way we work is to try and engage with young people and use the powerful, positive values that football teaches, and we encourage young people to be tolerant, to encourage young people to be disciplined, we encourage young people to be positive thinkers. All these values, in my view, were lacking when the genocide happened in my country in 1994 among the community of our young people. And so what Football for Hope, Peace and Unity tries to do is to make sure that today's generation and then the future ones are able to develop these wonderful values that football gives us, so that they want to be able to get involved in that kind of troublesome that we experienced 22 years ago. So that's how I can, sum up what Football for Hope is all about.
That's a fantastic story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
So your organization is actually called Football for Hope, Peace and Unity.
Yes.
And you hope to create peace and harmony in your community using football. That's in fact, football saved your life, probably.
It did. Yes.
Fascinating.
It definitely did. Without football, I don't think I would have survived the genocide.
Thank you, Eric. Holly, may I ask you, you're a researcher at Loughborough University. Could you tell us a little more about the research you conduct?
Yes, a group of us at Loughborough have been given this really amazing opportunity to research the sport for development and peace sector. And we're looking at different things that are involved with peace. We're looking at human rights, issues surrounding empowerment and disability and youth. So we're looking at it quite broadly. We're looking at it in 5 different international locations. So we've been very fortunate. I've spent some time in Rwanda looking, with Eric's organisation, with coaches across continents. And we've been looking in Kosovo and Jamaica, Zambia, Sri Lanka. So all these different locations, we really get an opportunity to see what's going on in grassroots level, and also as a way for us to maybe help the larger stakeholders, the international stakeholders like the United Nations Office for Sport for Development and Peace, as well as people like the Commonwealth Secretariat. So we're really fortunate and so interesting to see the different ways in which sport's being used and how it's received and the different strategies, the different issues. So it's been a really interesting project.
I paused there for a minute because I'm trying to figure out what it is about football that makes it so important to both of you, please, makes it so important in peace building.
Well, I just said a moment ago that football saved my life. And for me, the fact that I lived that experience where the power of football, the power of sport, won over the madness that was taking over each and every individual in my country, this group of former colleagues of mine managed to do what they did back then purely because of the bonds that we had created, that we had built throughout the time we spent together playing football. There is no better example, in my view, that you can use to show how powerful football can be in building peace, in encouraging people to be positive. So that's how I would.
So it builds bonds, and through bonds that builds trust and teamwork,
and then peace
trust
prevail.
Yeah. Holly?
Well, I think there are so many things involved with sport that attracts lots of people, and I think many different organisations have seen sport as a great way to engage and access marginalised populations, as well as broader communities and large communities and groups. So I think there's that appeal about sport that's a global thing. I think in a very basic way, it's cheap. Lots of people have a huge especially of football. And I think it's so accessible. It's cheap to run, and it's just an easy way, in a way, to gain people's attention. And then hopefully from that, you get amazing people like Eric, who are now in a position to educate through sport.
And multiply the people who think like you. Young people who think like you.
That's the only way you can be able to really change the world. If you are able to pass that to as many people as possible, then you are definitely making an impact that can bring a better result.
I was going to ask you how you think football empowers, inspires, and makes peace, but I think you've already answered that question very eloquently. But if you want to add anything, please.
I can add one or two things. So especially how football empowers. Let's look at it from the angle of women empowerment. In Africa, generally speaking, women are not allowed to come and be seen in public places and doing things that young boys or men does. But with football, from what I have noticed, once we started using football to encourage young women to come out and be able to be themselves, it has really made that powerful impact in the way young women see themselves in public places. They are able to express themselves in a way that you don't normally see. They are able to engage with boys and men, and which is not usually a simple way to do in most of
in the football field.
In football field and outside, those who comes to play football, they really build that confidence.
Do you have a women's football team in Rwanda?
Yes, we do.
But you also have some very good female coaches that are part of the Eric's organisation for football.
Fantastic.
Hope, Peace and Unity. When I was there recently, I spent some time with a couple of the female coaches that are part of the project. And to see them be in control in a football environment, they're with a majority of male participants, male coaches, but actually the opportunity through his organisation has given them confidence to be in that setting and are creating role models, hopefully, for young girls then to learn and participate.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And again, we've got young ladies who survived the genocide, who are football coaches today, and they tell you that without football, they would not have been able to overcome the trauma and all the problems that they've had. So football is so powerful when it comes to empowers people, and in the Rwandan case, it has done tremendous things.
Yeah, it's truly inspiring, Eric. Thank you very much. I'm going to address this to both of you. What is it about your work that inspires you most? Holly, and then Eric.
I think for me, I'm in a very fortunate position where I get to visit some amazing places in the world where it's, sport is important for both local populations and in terms of the development agendas, post-conflict agendas in certain countries. And I think something that inspires me are these individuals who are making huge differences in the places where they come from. Eric's just an example of one of those, where you see an individual that actually has the ability to achieve so much, but there are examples in Sri Lanka, all over, and it's these individuals, whether they're in Eric's position, where they're a founder of an organisation, or whether it's, a local community coach that's doing their best in the place they live. And it's those kind of stories that I find particularly inspiring, because it has in many ways given people focus, and it allows them to be empowered at times, and also a way to engage with others. And I think that's so important in what we're doing. And especially when we look at the issue of peace, when you start deconstructing the idea of peace, you start looking at education and informal education and human rights and different marginal groups and all these different things that are involved with the whole process of peace. And actually sport is something that's really important for that in terms of those different pathways. And it's about giving people choice. And sometimes through sport, that's possible. And it can actually, depends on who's in charge of it, of course, but if you have somebody that's really leading it and showing people those choices, making people aware of the choices they can have, that's something that sport can definitely do.
The second half of that question is, how do you hope to progress to move forward with this?
I guess my role as a researcher and as an academic within this field, we always strive for impact. When we learn, the idea is to spread the impact, spread the learning. So if there is potential to progress our findings to policy level, or even if it's just informally me speaking to Eric about what I've seen in Rwanda, I might say to Eric, well, how about this? Or have you thought about this? Or have you spoken to this person? Maybe we can formalise this. Do you know this person? Make those kind of connections and partnerships. So there's a way then that we can progress our findings to actually everyday life impact.
Thank you very much. Eric, what is it that inspires you most about your work? Briefly, please.
What inspires me most is working with young people. because that's what I see the joy and also the way to make an impact from what we do. And this, for me, has been everything about what I do. In fact, we're talking about football. When you talk about football, you're talking about on-field activities. But for me, it has taken me to another stage, because today I'm involved in off-field activities that takes me to classrooms to speak with young kids.
If I could ask you, is Peace Day important to each of you, to both of you? And if you could give me, in 30 seconds each, an example of things you've done on Peace Day. Holly.
This is my first major event in terms of the International Peace Day.
Will you be planning events for 2017?
No, of course, and I think that's something research in our project can be involved with, and we want to be involved with more activities.
Fantastic.
So, absolutely.
If you need any ideas, come to us.
Perfect.
Eric?
Well,
I know you've been involved in...
I've been with Peace One Day for almost 3-4 years.
Eric's a pro.
He's a pro.
He's a pro.
For the last 3-4 years, we've collaborated in a number of events here in the UK as well as in Rwanda, where over 100 games were played, and even today there are some activities taking place in Rwanda with our local partners, as well as this coming weekend. So yeah, we've done quite a lot. We've run 1 day, 1 goal all over the country, and yeah.
1 day, 1 goal. I was going to ask you to show us a few of your moves. I'm not sure you have the time to do that. And Jeremy will probably kill me.
Next year, big football match in the office.
So, I am, I'm enjoying this so much, but we're going to have to cut it short. We have 2 other fascinating guests as well. Thank you, Eric Murangwa and Holly Collison. Is it Collison or Collison?
Collison.
Collison. Thank you, Holly Collison from Loughborough University. Are you flying back to Rwanda soon?
Possibly. I don't know yet, but I will definitely be going there before December.
Okay, great. Thanks again for being with us. And before we go to our next guests, Graham and Doori, let's watch a short film about the Peace One Day initiative, 1 day, 1 goal. Watch.
Since the very beginning of the Peace One Day journey, one of the first things I noticed was the unifying potential of sport. As a result, one of our earliest initiatives for bringing people together on Peace Day was the 1 day, 1 goal campaign, which has seen thousands of football matches played in every country of the world on Peace Day, both by amateurs and professionals. The wonderful thing about sport, and football in particular, is that it gives people an opportunity to plan in advance of the day and is truly all-inclusive, where age, gender and race differences are put aside.
And I'm proud to support Peace One Day's football initiative, 1 day, 1 goal. Get together with your friends and family and join the thousands of people playing football for Peace Day.
1 day, 1 goal. I'm ready to pray. What about you?
We're all in it together, playing a game which fosters relationships and promotes a better understanding of our differences. And that's peace building.
I'm proud to support Peace One Day and the football initiative, 1 day, 1 goal.
1 day, 1 goal. Are you ready to play?
Inspiring individuals to make a difference in their families, communities and place of work. Since this is where most violence takes place, 1 day, 1 goal and sport can play a crucial role in developing a new generation of peacemakers.
If you come together and play a beautiful game like football, then you all respect each other, and that's where we get peace.
Over the years, we've seen extraordinary matches take place where the game has instigated peace on Peace Day. from matches between rival favelas in Brazil to opposing army units in Iraq, from a game in North Korea between a local team and a British ladies team to a match between two of the largest sports corporations in the world, Puma and Adidas, who put aside their 60-year rivalry with a historic Peace Day handshake, a story that was broadcast all over the world. It was truly inspiring.
What will you do to make peace on the 21st of September?
One day, one goal. Are you ready to play?
One day, one goal. I'm ready to pray.
What a great example of the empowering nature of football. Welcome now to Graham Spacey from Football for Peace, based in Brighton, I believe.
Yep.
Brighton by the Sea. And Doori Wang, Doori Yang, from Korea, the Korea representative for Football for Peace.
Yes.
Thank you both for being here. Can you introduce Football for Peace for us?
Yes, the name is actually quite confusing because Football for Peace International started as being a football programme, but now we do rugby, netball, cricket, and we do, when we work in Africa, we use indigenous games and adapted games for places like townships.
Cricket?
Cricket? Yep.
Football and cricket?
Yep.
Together?
Sometimes together, sometimes separate projects.
And is it Cricket for Peace as well?
We will call that when we bring out our new manual.
Thank you very much. Tell us about the motivations behind setting up Football for Peace.
So it began in around 2000, 2001. Some of my colleagues at the University of Brighton, where we are based, were invited out to Israel, and they worked within the borders of Israel, working with Arab and Jewish children. And after going there and just playing football with the children, they realised they had to do something more than just bring the kids together. So over time we've developed with our partners all around the world a values-based methodology, so teaching values and life skills, but not plus sport or sport plus where you do it in the classroom. We're trying to do it out on the pitch in the field with the children. So over time we've developed a manual in Football for Peace and a manual in Rugby for Peace, and a sort of what we call an off-pitch manual, which are small games, activities for team building, trust building, problem-solving exercises for young people.
And what impact is it having in society?
Well, it's hard to answer that. We're doing a lot of research. There's been a lot written about it by academics from across the world, particularly Professor John Sugden and Nico Schulenkorf down in Australia, Cora Burnett in South Africa. One of the biggest things we're finding, it's a generational thing. So a lot of our funding is through partners who are in it for the long game, using a pun, and they realise it's a generational change rather than a quick fix that's needed.
Of course, right. Doori, can you tell us more about the Football for Peace project in South Korea?
Yeah. Maybe as the people know, Korea is a divided country after Korean War. And I'm working at Korean Sharing Movement here, and which is the NGO for aiding to humanitarian aid to North Korea and making peace on the Korean Peninsula. And if we want to reach the peace between the two Koreas, we have to deal with the peace education, because we want to prepare people for the reconciliation and interactions in the future. So since 2013, we have conducting peace education, including Football for Peace. So now we are running the FHPU class twice a year with Dan Gudgeon, who is our head coach from England and working for Pyeongchang Olympic Organizing Committee. And besides, in order to expand this program to other cities in South Korea, we are conducting FHPU coach training in Korea once a year. So we hope someday children who live in North and South Korea can play appropriately together, and this is what we work toward.
Thank you very much for sharing that. I wish you every success.
So, thank you.
It's time for peace in the Korean Peninsula.
Yeah.
And how do these results inspire you? And how are you hoping to advance?
Well, because we're based at the University of Brighton, we're very critical. We're a bunch of researchers and academics, and so we're very picky. We discovered actually, initially, we were doing it all wrong. And we were leading programs, going into places, sort of telling people how it should be done. And now we through doing that, we realised that actually working with people gets a bigger impact. And rather us going in and trying to run programs, we now work with partners who deliver programs. They're working with the kids anyway. They know the context, they know the history, and we go in and work with them by training them. So Korea is a perfect example where we go in and work with them to train them up in the methodology so they can go and deliver the program themselves. So it's about capacity building, changing the context. We work in Gambia, we work in Northern Ireland with the Irish Football Association, we work in South Africa with University of Johannesburg, University of Pretoria, and we've worked in Israel, Jordan, and obviously Korea, South Korea. Hopefully North Korea one day.
Yes, indeed, indeed. What have you done in the past on Peace Day? Has it been an important day for you?
We haven't really marked it, but the past 3 years, our international training camp, which is held down in Eastbourne and Brighton, has sort of, the last day's always landed on Peace Day. So we've sort of in the past utilised it. We run a training camp, some of our partners send people, our students at the university that are training in physical education or sport coaching, they come and do the training. And on the last day, they work with school children, so they try out the methodology, practice on the kids to get some real life experience. So today, down in Falmer, we've had almost 250 children from 12 different schools across the East and West Sussex come together, and they've been doing rugby and football today. So in the morning they've been coached, and then they have a tournament, a competition in the afternoon.
Right, right. I see your T-shirt says Rugby for Peace.
Yep.
.eu.
Yep, they're both
whereas this one says footballforpeace.org, Korea.org.
This is the Korean, so the language is in Korean.
International, yeah.
And this one is links to the footballforpeace.eu website. We were launching a new website today to mark Peace Day.
Fantastic.
Unfortunately, technical hitches are, sometimes it works, on some formats it works, on others it doesn't, but we're hoping by the end of the Peace Week, the problems will be resolved.
I'm sure it will be. With your determination and creativity, you can resolve anything. Finally, I'd like to ask you, is there one thing that you would like to tell people, young and old, watching you today, to get them involved in using sports for peace?
I think, for me, the key thing is to know that children have a natural desire to play, to take risks, to explore. And if we as teachers, coaches, parents, significant role models take the time to manage those experiences carefully, then the children can learn from those experiences. Not just that if I stick my hand in a flame, I'll get burnt, but actually they'll learn about trust, respect, responsibility. They'll learn reflection. They'll learn about communication skills if you manage things properly. And that's what our curriculum is about. Our methodology is about, is learning through doing rather than on a chalkboard or a whiteboard or on a tablet.
So, short sentence, what would you tell them to do?
Play. For a child, play, get involved, and for a teacher, coach or parent to think about how you manage that situation.
Well, that's a learning process as well, managing the situation. I'd like to thank you both for being here, Doori and Graham, and sharing your experiences. Fascinating what you can do with sport. Good luck with Football for Peace. I'll leave the rest up to you. Come back again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next program, which will be coming up shortly, will be on peace education. We've done a lot of grassroots activism, the United Nations, corporations. We're going to do sport just now, music and dance, those of you who are with us for the Zumba demonstration. Our next program will focus on education. Education, very important in developing peace, with two teachers who use the Peace One Day educational resources, Wendy Phillips and Ben Harrington. And as always, don't forget that today is a day to reach out to people and make peace. Tell them you're sorry, tell them you love them. Whatever you do, make peace and tell us about it. So from all of us here, thank you for watching this segment, and a big thank you to our guests, Eric and Holly, Graham and Doori. This is the end of our program on sports and peace. We'll be coming back very shortly. Don't go away.